How much do I need to buy shares? How much do I need to buy shares? Maybe that is the question you're asking yourself. Maybe that is a question that you have ever asked yourself. Maybe you have ever asked yourself, what are shares? How much do I need to invest in shares? And that is the question that I seek to answer in this video. But before we continue, if you are a return viewer, welcome back. If you are a first time viewer, welcome aboard. You can consider subscribing, and you can also consider giving us feedback. Now, when you talk about the amount of money that you might need to buy shares, it is good that we lay a background that we are talking about the shares of companies that have been listed in the NSE, that is the Nairobi Stock Exchange, and we have quite a number of them, around 65, from which you can buy shares from. Now, the question of how much you need to buy shares, it is not a question that we can give a discrete answer and say that you need 100 bob, you need 1,000 bob, you need 1,000,000. No, it is not a question that that we can answer with a discrete number, but rather the amount that you might need to buy shares really depends on one, the company from which you want to buy shares from, and then the amount of shares that you want to buy. So having known that, it is good to note that you can only buy a minimum of 100 shares of a given company, and then shares are bought in batches of 100. So it's either 100, 200, 300. So it is good to note that you cannot buy one or two shares. It is either 100. If it is not 100, you go to 200. So that is the way to go. Then on the number of the amount of money that you need really depends on the company from which you want to buy shares from. And with me here I have some prices. I think this is how the market closed on Friday last week. Today is on the 13th of August 2024. So these are prices of how the market closed on that must be 9th of August 2024. Once you get to the pricing of shares, one interesting thing you get to notice that the companies in NSE are divided into various categories. So like here we have agricultural sector, we have automobiles and accessories, we have banking, we have commercial services, we have construction, etc. So you will find that there are some companies whose shares price is so high, and those are companies that we may term as matured shares, because these are companies that they have been there for long. They have we have seen them grow, and their share price is up there. It's like their share price has already got to the peak. And for these companies, maybe necessarily you might buy shares for the sake of dividend, because they are companies that we don't expect their prices to keep fluctuating, because they have already stabilized at some point. They have already sought to stabilize at some point. So maybe you can buy such shares for the sake of earning dividends, but not expecting so much price changes. So we can go through the different categories and get to see some of the prices that we see, and maybe so in the agricultural sector, this is where we have the company with the highest price there in the agricultural sector there is Kakuzi. That is around 370 shillings per share. So it means that for you to buy, the minimum amount you should have to buy shares from Kakuzi, given that one share is selling at 370 times 100, because the 100 is the minimum number of shares that you can buy. It means for you to buy the minimum shares from Kakuzi, you need 37,000. That is why I said that majorly the amount you need to start depends on the number of shares and the company from which you are buying the shares from. In the same agricultural sector, I think the company with the lowest share price is EGADS Limited, that is 14 shillings. So to buy shares from EGADS, you can buy a minimum of 100 at 14 bob. So you need 1400 shillings to buy the shares. I think you can be able to see the discrepancy, that if I need to buy Kakuzi shares, I need a minimum of 37,000. But if I need to buy EGADS shares, I need a minimum of 1400 shillings. You can see the difference. Then when you check the banking sector, this is where we have all the banks that have been listed in the NSC. That is Akina Absa, DTB, Equity, I&M, KCB, NCBA. So the bank with the highest share price is Standard Chartered Bank, and the share was priced at around 191 shares. So to buy a minimum of 100 shares from Standard Chartered, I'll need 19,100. And the lowest, and the bank with the lowest share price is HFC Group Limited. That is the Housing Finance Bank. The share was priced at around 4.14. So you need so you see for this, with around 500, you can already be able to buy 100 shares for Housing Finance Bank. With 500, you can buy 100 shares, but we saw that you need 37,000 to buy 100 shares from Kakuzi. When you go to commercial and services, the company that with the highest share price is Nation Media Group, which is, I think is valued at 15.9. So it means that if I was to buy shares from Nation Media Group, I'll need only around 1600. I'll get 100 shares. When we go to sector like the insurance company, we have Jubilee Holdings, that is Jubilee Insurance. Their share was valued at 153.75. This means that if I was to buy 100 shares from Jubilee Insurance, I will need around 16,000. But in the same categories, from the same category, if I was to buy CIC insurance shares, they were valued at around 2 shillings. With 200 shillings, I'm able to buy 100 shares. We can see other common companies such as Safaricom, which has been up and down. As at the 10th of August, Safaricom was valued at around 14.75. So to buy 100 Safaricom shares, it means that I would need 1400 shillings or around 1500 shillings thereabout. So you can see the discrepancy. The minimum amount of shares you can buy is 100, but again, now the amount that you need totally depends on the company from which you want to buy the shares. We have seen that you might need as high as 37,000 to buy 100 shares of Kakuzi. Well, again, I think the the company with the lowest share price here is Uchumi, which is valued at 0.18. I think which means that 0.18 times 100. That means with 18 shillings you can be able to buy 100 shares of Uchumi. You see now the discrepancy in value. So I can buy 100 shares with my 18 shillings from Uchumi. But now I cannot buy the same 100 shares from Kakuzi, because for Kakuzi I need to have around 37,000. So there are those companies where they have already grown, they have already stabilized, and maybe it may be that for those companies you can buy shares with the intention of enjoying the dividends. But again, there are these other companies that are still in the process of developing, where the share price is not high yet. So that is where you buy shares with the speculation of with the speculation that the company will grow and their share price will rise, and you will be able to sell at a profit. But basically, I hope you get the concept that the minimum amount that you need to be able to buy shares is it all depends on the number of shares that you need, and you have said the minimum is 100, and then the pricing of the specific company that you wish to buy shares from. So there is no fixed value that you need for you to be able to start buying shares. Those are the main determinant. Again, remember that investment in shares is, I would say, it's not a risk-free venture. It is not a low risk venture as we could see with the treasury bills, treasury bonds, the MMFs, because you can buy the shares at 100. Those who bought Safaricom shares in 2020, I think 2022, at 50, now the shares are selling at 14. They have lost so much. So it is not a place where you go placing a lot of your eggs. In fact, for me, I would say that shares is that place where you could throw some small cash and assume that money was drowned by a river. Maybe you come to think about it years later, but it is not something that you can really rely as an investment, maybe where you can place your emergency funds. No. It's sort of a long-term investment, because share prices might take time before they change. But again, you can buy for the purpose of enjoying the dividends, but also remember that the dividend depends on the number of shares that you have. The more the dividends, the more the shares, the more the dividends. But it's an open world. You are free to learn. You are free to try. Don't wait until you are 40 to try opening CDSC account. You can just open a CDSC account, get to see how the market prices moves, and even if you don't buy shares, at least even if when the word shares is mentioned, you'll have some idea in your mind. So that is all for today, and I hope that you have got to learn a new thing. So thank you for staying with me. Until next time, keep learning.